Today we're starting a new series that I have been really excited to begin working on. This is the top 5 habits of, insert name here, whatever famous player we're going to be talking about. And really this is at the core of how you become a guitar player. You start off by learning other people's music, and hopefully as you develop, you start to take what you learned and pieces from this player over here and pieces from this player over here, and you change around what they were doing, and it all starts to become part of your style. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And the guitarist we're going to analyze today is this guy over here. If you haven't seen his name before, it's not Yngwie or anything, it's Yngwie Malmsteen, and he is one of the handful of players that I think changed the entire landscape of rock and roll guitar. Before we start, a quick caveat here. The Top 5 Habits series is not about learning the exact riff or lead line that these players are playing, and that is because A, we don't want to tick off the copyright gods. That's a big no-no. And B, what you're trying to do here is take something that you learn from the way that these other famous players play and incorporate it into your own style and make it your own. Learn your own sound and your own technique from it. And really that's what the entire Music with Marky channel is about. And that's discovering your own sound and finding the way to make your best music. So what I've done here is I prepared a little like 30-40 second song where I incorporate all of the 5 habits that we're going to be talking about. And before I even play it for you, I'm going to talk about habit number 1 and how it works in the background music to the song here. And that habit number 1 for Yngwie Malmsteen is the thing that you probably, if you know of him, think of immediately over everything else, and that is use of the harmonic minor key rather than the regular minor key. And in this case, we're playing in the key of E minor or E harmonic minor. So if you take a regular E minor scale, you have the notes E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. Just the basic minor scale also could be the basic pentatonic minor that you get out of this. Now to make it a harmonic minor scale, you are just changing one note. You're taking the 7th note and raising it a half step, so you end up with that note that leads back to the root like a major scale would. So I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this D here becomes a D sharp, or E flat, whatever you want to call it. And it's very, very classical sounding when you do that. And it was kind of the cornerstone of his playing and something that hadn't been heard a lot in rock music at the time that he came out. So in the example song you're about to hear, I'm even using the harmonic minor in the background track. I've got this acoustic kind of thing going on behind it, or clean guitar, which is just the E minor. Right, and as I'm wandering around through it, you're going to see I'm going to go up. There's an F sharp here. And then I go to, instead of going to the D, I'm going to go to a D sharp. So it's... has that really strong resolve. So let's take a look at the song, and then we'll come back and start picking it apart. Alright, so right away you've got a theme, which we'll come back to talking about, but we're still on to habit number 1. So right away in the theme itself, I'm going to the harmonic minor instead of the regular minor. I play these notes here. There's that E flat D sharp. So instead of what you would normally do, I'm doing that, and it just lends that whole classical flavor to it. And I even do it on the build down. It makes that major B major triad instead of a B minor triad there. And that whole harmonic minor thing, anywhere you use it, is going to instantly harken back to an Yngwie type of sound, and it's going to lend a classical sound to your playing. So now on to habit 2. The second thing I learned from Yngwie was something that people don't really talk about a lot when they talk about his music. They always focus on his speed playing and his technique. But the guy's, in my opinion, a very good songwriter. And especially on those first couple of albums, the instrumental ones, he wrote themes for his songs. He didn't just play a bunch of solos and show off. There were actual themes in the songs, and that's always stuck with me. I try to write a theme, play a little bit of a lead, come back to the theme, and that's what this is. You could call it a melody, you could call it a theme. I generally think of themes as being something that's a little bit more might include a little bit more math, if you will, a little bit more technique. You could play a theme as that's something that is from one of Yngwie's songs. With a melody, I generally think of bends more and vibrato more and something that sounds a little bit more like you'd sing it. And with a theme, it could be a little bit more complex. So when you see in the song here, I went to the theme, I wandered away from the theme, I came back to the theme. The theme is a very important element to making a song rather than just a bunch of solos over some background music that you put together. And it's an important lesson that I learned from Yngwie. Okay, the third habit that I got from him is something that he does quite frequently, which I call kind of like a bounce pattern. I don't know if there's some official term for it, but you'll see him do. And he bounces back to a single note and moves a pattern behind it. In this instance, in the song we did here, I did the same kind of thing, but I went forward and backwards. So I did So it doesn't sound like the other thing, but it is the same logic. And really, you can take this kind of thing where you're bouncing back to a note and go to all kinds of extremes with it. I like to do it where the note you're bouncing back to, you do as a double note instead of just a single note. So if it was a single, it would be like I can do it as a double. There are all manner of variations that you can do on this one little idea of his and take it far away from anything that sounds like you're just trying to play Yngwie riffs, and it opens up a world of ideas to you, which is what the whole point of this series is. Okay, habit number 4 is similar to what we were just doing. It's just taking one of his common patterns and doing something with it. And I believe this is a pattern that he would talk about getting off of a violin player named Paganini, and it was the... So instead of just bouncing back to the note, he's bouncing back to a pattern. And I did something very similar to that in the song piece, and it's probably the most Yngwie sounding thing I did in the entire piece. And I just took that same idea, but I just bounced around a little differently. Instead of being on the one string, I'm bouncing back from the B here and the E. And instead of continuing down or anything, I'm mixing it up. I go up. So it becomes a little bit more of a complex pattern than just going in a logical downward sequence. But it's kind of a math pattern, if you want to call it that. And I like to move around and do all kinds of things with that. And I've got a song called The Expanse where I take that kind of idea and it's the entire theme for the song. And it's probably my most like Yngwie influenced instrumental that I've released. And I'll give you a link to it here if you want to go check it out. It doesn't suck, I hope. All right, and the last of the 5 habits that influenced me directly from Yngwie is a very simple one, and it's at the end of the song. I used to do a lot of rakes, pick rakes, which you hear a lot of guys use where they just kind of they rake up to a bend. And the habit that I have here is rather than just to rake across dead strings is to use a little mini arpeggio, which is something that Yngwie uses a lot to lead up to it. And at the end you saw I did, and it's just a short minor arpeggio. And to me, little things like that, little tasteful things add interest to it and give your ear something more to listen to. It even works in reverse if you're trying to work your way down in a lead to a note, So that's the idea about these things, is to try to take the idea and expound on it and go in different directions, go in the opposite direction, add to it, modify it, turn it into something that's yours, and make it unrecognizable as somebody else's riff, and now it becomes your style. So there you go. Those are the top 5 habits that I got from Yngwie and that influenced my playing. And hopefully you get something out of them too. And I'm sure there are plenty of other things that he does that will influence you and maybe inform your playing and help you create your own style. So if you have any questions or comments, of course, leave them below. I'm always happy to answer questions. And until next time, guys, keep making great music.
Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.